Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we are going to have a look at the new version of Peppermint, which just released. And Peppermint has been one of those distributions that has been under some major change throughout the last few years. And some think that the changes are for the best, and some people think that the changes are causing the original developer to be rolling around in the afterlife, because and I might sit under that count. There was a time I'd highly recommend Peppermint, and I'd say that Peppermint is one of the best distributions, and I really can't seriously support the current vision, the current version here, the current incarnation. To give you up to speed as to what Peppermint was. Peppermint was originally created as a competitor to the Chromebook. It is designed mostly for a netbook type system, very, very small system resources, and overall it was designed as a system which could replace any old system out there. Now, it was based on Ubuntu with a lot of tools from Linux Mint, and so it was truly a hybridized system which focused primarily on your app-based containers rather than anything else. Now, I do like the positive direction of moving away from Ubuntu and moving towards Debian. That is the best thing that they did. But as far as everything else, they've stripped out everything from Linux Mint. Now, I don't say this to say I really, really think Linux Mint is the absolute best and I'm a fanboy, but the reason some of the things in Linux Mint were there is because they worked well. The upgrade manager worked well. The just how the system interfaced with some of the package and the repositories, it worked well. They used Nemo because it worked well. What they've done though in the latest version is simply Debian with XFCE with some themes and a couple homebrewed tools. That is all Peppermint is reduced to, and they did get rid of all of the candy icons and logos. So the starting animation screen isn't bad, but now we're just left with this lowercase PeppermintOS. It says less is more, which I find really hilarious for an application with 4 terminals installed. Less is more, eh? Except when it comes to terminal editors, I guess. So, you know, we can always just, we always need more terminals, don't we? I mean, really. Less is more, I guess. Okay, so, valiant effort, but, I mean, these look, are these exactly the same? I don't know. They're at least in the menu box twice. But the whole idea of Peppermint was a very lightweight system that was a custom brew based on a variety of things that worked really well. And the problem is, right now, we do not seem to have that type of thing. So we're running 675 megabytes, which is light, but almost twice as heavy as the old Peppermint was. But this system here, it carries with it, like I said, just a pretty Debian system. Now, let's look at their homebrewed tools. Obviously, one of them is what we've been looking at here is the welcome screen. Of course, you can toggle this off with the toggle button down here. Now, we have suggested applications. Now, I do note that it is minimal, but there is no web browser installed. Type terminal. Let me do internet. Firefox, no. Vivaldi, no. Chrome, no. There's no web browser installed. So out of the box, we have to install a web browser. So this means that I would not recommend this for a new user because you don't realize out of the box you have to install that. Now, there is a little button here for your suggested, and inside here, we are suggested web browsers: Firefox, Conqueror, GNOME, Tor, Qt browser, Chromium, and Falcon Qt. So at least we have that. We can click on this and we can maybe go, oh, I don't have a web browser. So maybe this is a nice approach, but I do like, I'm not sure if they still do it, but FairOS in the day had a nice tool that you could choose your web browser from install. We have some suggested software. We have a document viewer. We have a media player. We have a firewall. We have the Snap Package Platform, the Flatpak Package Platform, the GNOME Software Store, or the Timeshift Backup tool. So, which is a system restore tool, not a backup tool. There is a difference, and we have to understand that difference. Okay, now we also have the Peppermint Hub. Inside of here, we have some nice tools. Here's HBlock. I have no idea what HBlock is. I just typed in my password and it opened another terminal. Okay, I have no idea what just happened. Something just happened. Here's your system information. You can see we have Linux 6.1 kernel. Here's xdaily. We're going to hit no on the updates. We are not on the internet. No, we're not on the internet. No, we're not on the internet. I don't even know what this tool is. xdaily. We're just hit no on everything. Okay, we're just going to do that. Does this tell me what it is? I have no idea. Maybe you can tell me what xdaily is. We have over here under our suggested, this is just the first tool app that we have again. We also have the app image hub. We have Synaptic Package Manager with GNOME Software Store, FlatHub, and the Snap Web Store, which doesn't seem to be working for me. I've tried it a few times here. So you can see it'll load this far, hit the app image launcher, and it just kind of sits there. Well, that's waiting to do something. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next thing here. So click on the GNOME Web Store. And if you have the GNOME Software Store installed, you should be able to click on these links here. And there should be a spot where you can go and push, and it's going to install it through the GNOME Software Store. The problem is, if you hit that Get the App button that flashed across the screen there, it just takes you to a file that the system doesn't know what to do with because GNOME Software Store is not installed. FlatHub, at least the FlatHub organization assumes you may not have FlatHub installed out of the box. And so it does have that setup FlatHub box, which we talked about before on the setting up FlatHub on Debian, which the same exact principles here would apply. Of course, there's no back button on this integrated system, so I have to close that and relaunch it. But once again, if I have not installed FlatHub and I don't follow the steps on that screen and I'm excited to see an application, here's a big install button which just locates a Flatpak reference file. And a new user is not going to know what to do with that. We have similar thing with the software, the Snap Store here. Of course, I can't really get into there without accepting all cookies and tracking my site. You know, one of those reasons I want nothing to do with the Snap Store is all that kind of stuff. So once again, the App Image Hub doesn't seem to be working. Let's see if we can figure this thing out. And fast forward to the end. Nope. Can't seem to figure this out. Not sure exactly what's going on here. But it was a valiant effort, but failed one at that. So that's what we have inside of our Peppermint Hub, and then we have some docs, and we have build logs and other community links. As far as installing software, it looks like we only have the Synaptic Package Manager installed by default. So that's okay as long as you're comfortable using that. Again, you can install your GNOME Software Store. So it's asking us to install the GNOME Software Store. We also have plugins for Flatpaks, for snaps, for app images, which aren't really the best way to go about doing that. And then we do have an update tool here. Now, of note right now, as I'm recording this video here, I don't actually have access to the internet. So this is going to fail. That's perfectly fine, okay? Because we're not on the internet as I'm recording this, although I did run these on there. Basically, we have a little update tool which boots up a terminal, and with that, we have a just a terminal-based system to run your system updates that if it were on the internet, this would be updating right now. So ignore the errors on that. Oh, it still wants to download images, information, even though we don't have an internet connection. All right, good to know. So there, we're just going to go ahead and do that. Not sure what all it's removing. I guess just cache files. That's okay. We'll let that do its thing. So basically, instead of getting a good minimal lightweight system that's very user friendly and very easy to use, we have Debian with XFCE and a theme with a couple of built-in packages that some of them don't even seem to work very well. Now, I initially was actually also going to criticize them for using a picture of spearmint on this because these leaves definitely resemble spearmint, but this is indeed a peppermint plant we're looking at, and you can tell because spearmint does not have purple stems. Peppermint does, and this is one, albeit a more uncommon leaf style for peppermint, but at least they got that part right. I'm not saying this is a horrible build. I think it has a lot going for it. You know, installing Debian onto anything and getting it to look pretty is an accomplishment. And I do really like the theming that they have done. I think that the tools are good for a person that already knows what they're doing on Linux. But as far as a new distro for a new person switching to Linux, I think that this is probably more of a pass because it requires quite a bit more knowledge about what's going on. It requires somebody to not be terrified when a terminal window shows up, and you have to know how to get a web browser on here when you do not have one out of the box. So that is really my assessment. I don't think that this is bad. I just don't think it's good. I think that they've done a good thing moving to Debian, but I don't think that they have implemented everything that they would need to move to get the move going in the right direction. So that's kind of my thought on it. As far as right now I'm using Peppermint for my banking system, and that's getting a little old. And really I use that because of your being able to manage your web browser apps, and the difficulty we have, I think it's Kumo. Is this it? Yeah. So here is your tool to save your individual web browser windows as apps. The problem we have is there's none of them on the system to start with, whereas the old Peppermint had a lot because that was its purpose. It's not as good of a system. What I do seem to like is it's independent of the installed browsers. That's something that is new. The challenge that we have here is that it's not as user-friendly, it's certainly not as minimalistic, and it's certainly not as unique as it was. This is just Debian with a few simple packages and some themes installed, and not much more than that. For that reason, it's not bad, but I'm not going to exactly include it in my recommendation list, especially for new Linux users, because there's going to be a lot in here that you're not going to be familiar with, and it could give you a more frustrating experience where switching to Linux should be a very calm and nice experience. That's kind of my thought on Peppermint. Let me know, do you think I have this right? Or, yeah, maybe we should wait for this one to come through some more development cycles. And to be completely fair to the team, I think that right now they're lacking direction, having taken up the project after the passing of the first project developer. I don't think they have focused in on what their goal is, and right now I think they're just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. That's kind of my analysis of it. Let me know if you think I have that right or wrong in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.